If the president needs any more help explaining what he really meant, it appears he can count on some quarters of the mainstream media. The New York Times saying in an editorial over the weekend, quote, Mr. Obama clearly misspoke when he said that. By law, insurers cannot continue to sell policies that don't provide the minimum benefits and consumer protections required as of next year. So they have sent cancellation notices to hundreds of thousands of people who hold these substandard policies. Let's talk about covering the coverage here with Alan Colmes, host of The Alan Colmes Show and author of Thank the Liberals for Saving America. Jim Pinkerton is contributing editor and writer for the American Conservative magazine. Both are Fox News contributors. So what do you think about what the Times had to say, Jim?
Well, I thought it was very striking that the Times has made this heroic effort on behalf of the Obama administration to shift the subject. Look, I think the last month has been the biggest, well, don't take my word for it, Bob Schieffer of CBS, who's no conservative, said it's the biggest flop he'd ever seen in all his 4 decades in Washington. So there's your baseline. However, that was October. Now we're into November, and the Times is saying, look, you really didn't want that insurance policy. The president misspoke, which makes it sound like he said it once. He actually said it hundreds of times over the last 4 years. But I think the Times, which is not just a corner of the mainstream media, it's actually the flagship of the mainstream media, is now going to say, look, good liberals, get on board. The new enemy is the insurance companies. That's familiar territory for Democrats. It's not the president's fault. He's the victim. It's actually, and as Omika Brzezinski on MSNBC said this morning, the president's too smart for this job. He's not smart enough. He's too smart. But now we go and do what we always do, which is blame corporate America.
Why should, Alan, why should people not be upset if they like the insurance policies they had? And there are a lot of people who did like what they had, and now they're being forced into other policies. The president said that wouldn't happen.
Well, the president not only misspoke, I think it was misleading what he said. And what he should have said is that it was all dependent upon whether the insurance companies were good actors here and kept the policies they had. But insurance companies don't tend to do that. And as a matter of fact, the Talking Points memo online, not exactly the mainstream media, talks about how the insurance companies are misleading their customers by not letting them know, in some cases, that they have other alternatives and go to exchanges. And in some cases, where there have been examples of those who have saying that they're paying more, what hasn't been told in some of those cases, those people are entitled to subsidies. So the media hasn't told the whole story, even among those who've tried to present those unhappy with Obamacare.
Well, is that the part of the job? I mean,
yes, it is. To tell the whole story, it is part of the job.
No, but I mean, is it part of the job of the media to tell people, you know, what their insurance offerings available are?
The part of the job is if you're going to present somebody and say, here's somebody who is not particularly happy because their rates are going up, it's also important to say, well, not really, because once you have put in the subsidies, the rate isn't going up.
Is it important for the media to say the president, well, didn't tell the truth here?
Well, the president, I don't know if it was a willful lie, but I think what he didn't tell was the whole truth in terms of what insurance companies could do or would do if they did not maintain the policies which they had previously, which insurance companies often don't do.
Mitt Romney has laid pretty low, but he was on some of the shows over the weekend, Jim, and said that this is a fundamental dishonesty that is going to rot President Obama's second term, in his opinion. How's that being covered?
I mean, Romney, look, got attention. Of course, it got more attention for, pufferfish and all the vice presidential stuff and so on. However, let's just listen to what Alan just said. It just proves that the New York Times plan is working. The issue now is the insurance companies. They're the bad guys in this. Look, I think what Romney said was that the president wouldn't have gotten his policy through, his healthcare plan through in 10 if he told the truth. Well, we agree on that. Okay, in the minds of the mainstream media, that's a sunk cost. Okay, that's over and done with. We did what we had to do to get the Obamacare enacted by the Congress. Now we move on to shifting the blame. I mean, the Daily Caller this morning says that up to 129 million Americans could lose their health care. 129 million, that's a big number. Now, it's going to take not only the New York Times, but also very influential liberal blogs like Talking Points Memo to say, no, the real enemy is the insurance companies. Let's go get them. And pass new regulations and move to single payer, which is what we should have done all along.
Well, they are the bad actors. I wish we would, by the way, but they are the bad actors here. Also, Justin Wolfers over at Brookings Institute has this chart that shows really the people who are the losers, had the winners and losers of Obamacare. 3% of the losers, 80% work for companies, keep what they got, 14% get new coverage that they never had before, and about 3% switch to other plans comparable in price. So there are really 3%. We're talking about a very small percentage of Americans who are not winners here. The rest are either losers or stay the same.
It sickens me that people are trying to downplay this as much as they can just for political gain when they know that it is going to harm people. If this gets repealed and these people lose these insurances, it's just, it makes me so disheartened, and I don't know why. I should expect it, but I still have this problem. There was a story that was actually done earlier, and I believe it was CBS News, and they brought on a lady that was, she said she was happy with her insurance. It was around $50 a month. She didn't want to change. Everything was great, but now her insurance is going up to $500 a month, and they think she might be eligible for some subsidies, but they didn't know, so they glossed over that, didn't even say a word about it, and just basically hammered Obamacare. Now, this was CBS News. This was not Fox. Now, what happened was a couple of smaller reporters from some papers actually went and started doing some digging, and they found out that, in effect, her insurance was just bullshit insurance. What it did is she paid $54 a month. If she happened to go to the doctor and the doctor cost her more than $50, they would, give her $50 off the bill, or give her $50 toward that bill. Now, that is an insurance, because you got to figure most months she's not going and getting $50 worth of care. And the only time that she gets the $50 back is it happens to be in that month. So they went and they found out some other insurance. They found some insurance that would cover a ton more and protect her from bankruptcy for $150 a month. And before they even looked into how it would affect the tax credits and the subsidies because of her income, she told them absolutely she would jump all over it. I would kill for that kind of insurance. Thank you. When they went, and just so the subsidies real quick, guys, an average family in the U.S. now makes around $51,000 a year and has 2 kids. If you plug those numbers into the calculator, you get almost $400 a month in subsidies to pay for the insurance. Now remember, this lady's only paying $150 a month. The subsidies are probably going to cover every damn thing. So she goes from $50 a month to nothing, and doesn't have to worry about bankruptcy anymore. Now, the thing that pissed me off about this story more than anything is, why in the hell did CBS News run with that story without doing what the smaller journalists did from those local papers and try to help her out? It's just ridiculous. Matthew, if you got anything, I'll rant all night on that.
I really don't. I don't have anything on this. I just wanted to mention that it seems like, as with most things related to Obama, not all, there are definitely some valid valid criticisms to be made of him and the things that he's done. But it seems like with Obamacare, it's just a resistance to change and a fear of something new, and something that is something that's too close to just being generous. And I think that anything even remotely intended to help people ends up coming off to people who have a very strong capitalist sort of ideology, the people who have a very focused fear of socialism and communism, and I think that all of that together, it's sort of, I'd like to just take their fear away and get them to look at it reasonably and calmly, and I think that, let me say this, when we look back in the future on Obama's presidency and all the money that got spent and all of the damage that it did to the economy, the way that it ended up helping people in the future, I think, is going to far outweigh the damage that was done to the economy. That'll be fixed as well, but it's just so much of a fearful reaction that they instantly, it's like a knee-jerk. Anything that Obama does, it's automatically giving away too much, and it's just turned into a big mess. And I get the feeling that they just want it to be over. They just want it to be on to the next president, whether it's Hillary or whoever, just to get the bad Obama taste out of everyone's mouth.
Well, that's a fact. We know that. So we know how they feel about that.
It's very
exposed,
very depressing. But
they spoke that they want Obama as a one-term president. I'm like, there are the facts out there.
Yeah.
And the sad part about it is yeah, I agree with what you said there, Matthew. And it boiled down to is they see what they don't look at when it comes to Obamacare. At least this is the main thing I look at is, yeah, people don't care. Well, they don't want change, like you said. They really don't want change. What they want is they just want to try to fix what's there. And sometimes you just can't fix what's already there. So what Obama's trying to do is trying to revamp, the healthcare system. And I think you need to give this time. You can tweak it over time. I think when you look at the broader perspective of Obamacare, yeah, there's some things that are wrong, some things are good. But what I look at is what it boils down to is preventative healthcare, especially when it comes to women, preventative healthcare. If you could take care of certain cancers, certain diagnoses, if people can go and get shit done for free, like mammogram, shit like that, it helps prevent, or at least helps treat early stage cancers. You know what I mean? That some people just might not be able to afford, and then to treat a late stage cancer, it's really freaking expensive, man. So that's one big point I like about Obamacare is preventative healthcare. That's the main aspect I really like. Do they need to do a little bit more when it comes to the men? Well, yeah, maybe it'll get there, but I think it'll get there. But the one thing you got to look at when it comes to Fox News and the contributors is, especially Fox News, and even CNN, I've seen this, where you get these right-wing conservative Republicans, and they're basically, especially, Bill Donahue, they're on the contraceptive thing. They don't care about looking at every other aspect when it comes to Obamacare. They just care that it violates their fucking religious... what's the fucking word I'm looking for?
Doctrine.
Yeah, so their religion, whatever. Yeah, that's what it boils down to. And just like, I just don't understand it. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with it,
what worries me is it just, especially in this country, I mean... And
you look at just that,
people are so willing to just believe shit because people say it. I mean, the best example of that, I don't know if y'all have seen this, but the latest Gallup poll came out, and it went over what people believe in the U.S. I mean, you got a population over 300 million people. 25% of them believe ghosts exist. 36% think that mental telepathy works. Almost half believe in UFOs. And this is the kicker. More than 50%, just try to wrap your head around this. Every 2 people you meet believe, literally, that the devil is working every day and has some effect on what's going on in the world. To every 2 people you meet, one of them, according to this poll, believes that. I mean, that's not even touching the over 230 million, which is around 78%, that believe in religion. And if you can lead those people to believe that kind of crap, leading them to believe that this Obamacare is socialized medicine and it's going to make us a communist or a socialist country, it can't be that hard. And that's what worries me here.
No, you're 100% right. And like, Don't Bug It said, and I agree with you, don't bug it. Like, when it does come to the contraceptives, like when it comes down to a Catholic affiliated hospital, it's just, you're not forcing people to take the pills. They're just available. Okay, so it doesn't violate your consciousness or your religious consciousness. It doesn't conviction, I should say.
I gotta disagree with you there. Within their ideology, Joe, I have to point out that when we go back to, I think it was our first video or second video.
I wasn't even really done, but I'm talking about when it comes to the employees too that work there. I'm talking about the healthcare of the employees too, because when you come down to a Catholic hospital, all the people that work there are just not Catholics. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I wanted to point out that it was the CUDA report. It wasn't the first video. It was the CUDA report. What TJ was saying. When a natural disaster happens and the righteous people are getting punished along with the sinners, or in some ways thinking that everyone is a sinner, but you know what I mean. The good Christians are being punished along with the atheists and the bad Christians, but the way that they see it is God is punishing everyone. It doesn't matter if it's because of the actions of a few. So if we pass laws that go against the ideology of these Christians, even if it doesn't affect them directly, because they were a party to the agreement to have this law passed, they are implicit in it. Mm-hmm. And then they're guilty by proxy. So technically, even though it doesn't affect them in the eyes of God, who sees everything, then they're as guilty as everyone else. So then gay marriage, anything basically that doesn't technically affect Christians or Muslims or anything to allow gays to get married, they're still, by being in a democratic culture, they're still guilty of allowing it to happen. I think that's their argument.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, but the real argument is they think that we're just shoving it down their throat because it's just available. It's just like, no, it doesn't. Even the people that work there. You know what the one person said, and this was like last year when this all was going down. There was this one, I forget what, I think it was a hospital or something like that, where they made a statement saying, "Hey, listen, yeah, we're not going to have free contraceptives for our staff here, for our employees. They're not going to do it. They're going to really, but they had to. Okay, there's certain they were actually given an extra year or something like that. But anyway, the point of the story is, like, they said, well, basically, we don't care. And then there's this one girl that stood out, and she was basically, she was actually a Christian. She goes, well, I want them to be available. I take them. I want to use them, so I can't get them free. It doesn't make sense. So I feel like if an employee wants them and they're available, and our government wants to give them free, just as preventive health care, because to be honest with you, some of the pills out there, birth control pills, they actually prevent certain cancers in women, or they at least help. So I just don't understand. And that's preventive health care too, when you come down to it. So I just feel it should be available to them. It's when it comes to your employees, you should take care of them as they want to be treated. If they want to be treated this way and they work for you, you should have the health care these people really want. I understand they contribute some money to that. I understand that. Or the employee does, and the employer, I should say, depending on how much it is. But you know what? It's free, and of course somebody has to absorb that cost. But like I said, it's long term when it comes to preventative health care. I think that's going to help. And you got to remember, these friggin' healthcare people, they're making billions and trillions of dollars. You know what I mean? So what it boils down to is, eventually, the cost of treating a certain cancer is hopefully going to come down a little bit. The average is going to come down, where some of that cost is going to be absorbed when it comes to preventive healthcare. That's what they're trying to do here, at least on that end of Obamacare, I should say. So,
well, I think that the thing that a lot of people want to gloss over and don't want to address is that even though Obamacare is doing a lot, or doing at least something, they failed, at least in my opinion, on the one part of it that would have made a huge difference, especially in cost of medication and even service, and that's single payer. If you don't have the single payer, the collective power behind that, then the problem is that the corporations, namely the pharmaceutical industry, can still run roughshod. I mean, I'm sure that if I had to have some medication and I compared what I'm going to have to pay for medication compared to what Matthew would pay for medication, and like I said, I'm fairly close to the border. I mean, 4 or 5 hours in a car, and I can cross the border and now buy medication for a fifth of what it cost me. It's ridiculous. It's just So I have no patience for this at all.